I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of people that have this romantic thing about owning a restaurant.
Yeah.
They feel like it's very romantic. It's very stressful. It's very stressful. I always say this too. You never know when a deer is going to jump through your window.
Oh, yeah. That actually happened for you.
It very much did happen at the grind. So you never know when a deer is going to jump through your window and run through your dining room and cause a ton of chaos and then go viral all over the internet.
Yeah.
Super viral.
It did go super
It went
viral.
super duper viral.
Welcome to this session of Word with Patrick Smith. Today, my guest is Alan Laderman, the owner of Sammy's Woodfire Pizza and The Grind in Martin. I'm going to let Alan tell us about himself. Alan, I like to ask this question of all my guests, let you fill in the blanks. So, tell me who you are without telling me what it is that you do.
I'm a father, a person who's passionate about business, design, hospitality. I love to spread joy. I like to consider myself a joy spreader. So whether that means in the moment or on a grand scale. I like to play disc golf and video games on the weekends. And I like to cook food. I've been an avid cook for probably since I was about 16 years old.
I like that description, joy spreader. Go a little deeper with that. How do you define joy spreader?
I like to make people smile, laugh. When you do something grand, when you cook a great meal and everybody's enjoying it, they're smiling. They're probably not talking as much because they're eating. It's a great feeling. Like it's probably one of the best feelings there are when you can do that.
Yeah.
Even telling a great joke and get people to chuckle, that's great. So I've been doing that since I was a kid in classrooms. I was a little bit of a class clown. So I guess I got the dopamine from those days and I just stuck with it.
Tell me about your youth. Where did you grow up? I
grew up in Martin, Tennessee. We grew up poor. My parents were always working crazy hours. My childhood times were fantastic though. I don't have any sad memories of any of that time. I had a lot of fun. My parents always overspent for me on Christmas and made sure I had a fantastic Christmas and birthday, including some amazing surprise birthdays. I grew up skateboarding. I was a little bit of a rebel.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, I was into skateboarding, and all of my friends were skateboarding. I had a little bit of a unique growing up, too, because my parents, I am from the South, obviously Martin, Tennessee, but my parents were both transplants. My dad was from Arizona, and my mom was from Michigan. And just so happened that the majority of my friends that I made growing up, their parents were transplants. So I didn't grow up hunting and fishing very much. I have fished a little bit, but I've never been an avid hunter or any of that kind of stuff. I just had a different background. But big into skateboarding, big into, did some other things like paintball, played a lot of paintball when I was growing up. That was a lot of fun. But small town shenanigans with the skateboarding. And I was a bit of a punk rock kid. I thought I was anyways.
Yeah.
So pretty big rebel back in the day. My parents battled with that a lot whenever I was in high school. So
that's interesting about skateboarding because I was the same way. I had Thrasher magazine as a kid and built ramps out in the country and, trying to find a paved section of road to skateboard on was always a challenge.
Yeah, we were constantly getting kicked off UTM. So because UTM was the best skate park for us back in the day because it's just huge and it was clean and the rails were good and they had stairs everywhere. So we were constantly getting kicked off at UTM library.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of good times and a lot of churches too. We went to a lot of churches to skate.
Yeah,
So
all those places had the best. Then, and you're right, they all kicked you off at
they
some
all did. Well, we
point.
could get away with the churches as long as we weren't there on Sunday, obviously. So um,
What what did being different feel like in Martin, Tennessee?
it was a struggle. It was a struggle at first, but somewhere around the seventh grade, I had met one of my best friends on the planet. You know, I was the best man at his wedding. He lives in Memphis now. But him and I became friends about seventh grade. And, you know, it just opened up that, you know, other people are like me too in small town.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking that way, you know, I was just always outgoing and spoke my mind a lot, and that could get you in trouble too. I was a very blunt person. My father was that way. So yeah, it's definitely some challenges there, but there's also some freedom there
Yeah,
to being a little different. You know,
you were able to express yourself,
I was able to express myself. Yes,
and that's something that was not conforming. I would say probably in Martin, certainly wouldn't be in Paris. To the idea of being able to express yourself, kind of you're on the outskirts.
sure. It felt like that,
Mm.
definitely. But eventually, I carved my own niche. My friends always kind of called me the diplomat, so I was friends with everybody.
Mm.
You know, the preppy guys, the skateboarders like we were, the ag guys, you know, everybody, a little bit of everybody, smart kids. So I kind of can work around all of those people. I've always had that gift of
Yeah,
hanging out with everybody and being friends with everybody. Being a friend or getting friendships is always very natural to me. It's very easy for me.
yeah, I could see that. Were you? Did you have good grades in school? Were you good at schoolwork?
I was honestly not very good at school, but it wasn't because, you know, I was dumb. I didn't learn very well that way. And I was a horrible test taker. So I struggled with reading in without total silence. As soon as
Mm.
I heard something, I would get distracted. You know, I actually did great in school until high school. And then I started getting distracted and bored with school. That's
Mm-hmm.
really the gist of it. So my grades started slumping. You know, I would do well in the classes that I liked, the social studies, the science, and very poor in math and very poor in English. But still graduated. So here we are.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't that bad, but you know, I didn't do very well in high school.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was also my parents didn't pressure me to do super well because they were working crazy hours. So I was making up when our report cards came because they were forgetting. You know, it was a different time
Mm-hmm.
where you know there weren't a Facebook post every 6 weeks going report cards came out today.
Yeah.
You know, my parents were working their tails off, working 65 hours a week in fast food restaurants. So I was staying at home by myself all the time, or going out skateboarding,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. You're not quite Generation X like I am. You're at the tail end of Gen X and at the beginning
Exactly.
of the other generation.
Millennial. And
Yeah.
they call that they used to call it Generation Y,
Mm-hmm.
but now they call it Xennial. And I really feel like that's me, is
Mm-hmm.
I'm perfectly in between millennial and Gen X. So
Yeah.
I get along with both groups really well.
Yeah, because both parents working out of the home, and you were probably had a lot of time to yourself,
Sure.
which it fits right in with the Gen X type lifestyle where you had to figure out what you were going to do and get things done on your own a lot.
That's exactly how I learned to cook.
Your parents, tell me a little bit about your parents and about the work that they were doing whenever you were young.
Sure. My dad started working in fast food when he was in Arizona. When he was 16, he worked at a Pizza Hut, and his mom got up, who used to move all over the place all the time, even after they moved here, got up and moved to to Martin, Tennessee because of some family. And he got a job at Pizza Hut. And he started working with some folks in Pizza Hut in Union City, because I think this was before Martin even got one, and got into the pizza business that way, and got into the restaurant business that way. And I'm remembering something 1 second that I misspoke. He had the job when he was 16 and then later got it at Pizza Hut. But my parents met at a restaurant called Kappa's Steakhouse in Martin, Tennessee. My mom was a server. My dad was a cook. And so they met there, fell in love, got married, and then had me very shortly after. So they were. My mom was pregnant with me when she was 18. Mm-hmm. So by 20 years old, I was born. So my parents were always 20 years older than me, which actually created a pretty close. We were actually pretty close. There wasn't a giant generation gap or anything. But they grew up working in the fast food industry most of their lives. Mom at Long John's in Union City, and then when Martin got one, ran that. Then later she became kind of a person that they would send to Long John's to fix. They had gotten messed up, they had problems, deep problems. She would go in and frankly fire everybody, rehire, retrain, and get it going again, making it profitable.
Yeah. How did she run the household? Was it like that?
It wasn't quite like that. My mom was very loving, very supporting of anything I wanted to do. Very loving, very supporting. There was a lot of fend for yourselves. That's why I learned to cook. I was talking about that because it's like I already had to feed myself because my parents, when you work fast food, you're going to work through a rush. They call it. You might come in at 2 and then work to rush. And so you're staying until the restaurant gets killed and then you get to go home. But, someone like a management position would be there from open until rush. So she might not be getting home till about 8 p.m., after 7 for sure. And so I'd already come home from school, cook myself dinner, whether it be hamburger helper or something I actually made from scratch that I was learning. And then my father, he did the same thing, but worked at Paducah. So he had an hour commute there and an hour commute back. And, he actually got to the position where he did the same thing for Pizza Hut. They were sending him to Pizza Huts all over the area. And then he would go fix them. He was in Ripley and Paducah and several places. And this is Pizza Hut's heyday too, the 90s, when they were like kings of pizza. So it was a lot of hours. I was away from them a lot. My dad missed a lot of soccer games, but my mom was always there. Very few she missed.
Did you find cooking a way to connect with your parents?
Sort of. I mean, my dad was the big cook in the house. He didn't cook a ton of things, but when he did cook, they were good. He really, you could tell he cared. And my mom had her things that she always cooked. She'd always cook fried pork chops and the green beans. And that was kind of what she learned from her mom and her sister, who were the kings of Southern cooking, or queens, excuse me. But, my dad took it very seriously. He liked to cook some stuff, but I think part of it came from I was bored and, I was probably about 16 years old, and we had Food Network. We had DirecTV back in that day, and we got Food Network. It was brand new, and there was this guy on there named Alton Brown, and he's a pretty famous guy now, but I started watching his show because he had this whole Mr. Wizard version of cooking, and I really got into that. I like science a lot, so I got into the science of cooking from that show, and I started doing some of the stuff he was doing, and it started working, and this is, like I said, before the internet. There was cookbooks. There wasn't a lot of TV shows on the stuff. Yeah. And if there were, it was from, and I'm 16 years old. I don't want to watch a bunch of older women. Yeah. Julia Childs, who I know she's an icon, and I have a lot of respect for her now, but I was 16. And so, Alton Brown kind of had this, like I said, Mr. Wizard approach, and that got me interested. And I started dabbling with little instant ramen, and then I was making homemade fettuccine Alfredo. Yeah. And
When did you realize that you were different? At what age did you realize that your brain worked different, that you saw the world different, that you moved different?
I'm going to have to say it wasn't until I was about 25 years old that I really saw myself as different.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of, growing up, I had a lot of issues, like problems with how I did in school. I thought that I wasn't a super intelligent person because I struggled to learn, and then I'm looking at my peers and they're all doing well. And so it gave me a weird, I don't know, feeling about all of that. And it wasn't until I was 25 years old around that time, where I really started having my own ideas. I wasn't just parroting everything that I'd heard somewhere from my dad or my friends or whatever. And that I started thinking, hey, maybe being different isn't so bad, type thing. But I would put it in my early adulthood.
Before we started filming, we were talking a little bit about being a night owl and about how your brain works and whatnot. And I can relate to that. Did anybody ever say, hey, I think Alan may be like ADHD or have something like that going on?
Nope. Nobody ever, we never had any of that discussions. Doctors never, but I didn't, it was kind of private. I didn't talk about it. I thought it was kind of normal. I didn't know. I've still never been technically diagnosed with ADHD, but I guarantee you I have it. Okay. I guarantee you I have it. But that's one of my things. At night, my brain is firing on all cylinders, 100 miles an hour. I think I forget most ideas that I can even remember. Like, I struggle to write them all down. I've got so many ideas that come in and out. They're gone in a second and here, and then they get locked in. When they get locked in, that's when something really happens. But yeah, I definitely have ADHD.
The small town aspect of growing up in Martin and kind of thinking about how the school was and school work. Do you think small towns reward people that conform? I struggle to see small towns rewarding people that are different.
Sure. I think they do it unknowingly. Well, and at least back then, I don't know as much about it now, but I don't think I think they were just doing what they knew how to do. I mean, I really enjoyed my school. I really enjoyed the teachers that I had. Like, even though I had struggled with grades, I wasn't necessarily a problem kid, and they didn't treat me like one.
Yeah.
So I actually enjoyed a lot of aspects of school. I just didn't enjoy the actual grade work itself. I found it boring, and that made me totally disinterested and not want to learn it. But I did really still learn it because, I still know how to do most of that stuff from grade school, So I did learn it, but it was just very uninteresting to me. But I think what you're saying, there's some truth to it, but I think back then, at least, it was unknowingly. I don't think they realized or knew how to deal with kids like me or whatever, because they're all learning too.
How did being different play into your becoming a strength later? Because it's definitely a strength of yours, I would say. Do you?
I would, I would basically say just thinking differently, outside the box. I'm the big outside the box guy. I don't want to be or do anything that anyone else is doing, and that starts with a lot of things, but that started with Sammy's, with whether Sammy's, obviously it's a sandwich shop. Everybody's doing sandwiches or whatever. Everybody knows what a sandwich is. Well, our only competition was Subway, and I didn't want to have anything like Subway. I didn't want to do anything like Subway where you go and you pick your toppings. No, we want to try what we're serving, and if you don't like those things, you could, we'll take them off for you or add them to your sandwich for you. But that includes like how I design the restaurant, the sayings on the walls, and all that kind of stuff. When I say I don't want to do anything that anyone else is doing, I don't mean in the whole world. I just mean locally. So you won't find items on our menus that everyone else has. And I always want it to be that way because I want to have my own niche. I want to carve my own niche and do my own thing. And I think that's rewarding. I don't
Yeah.
think it's rewarding to just have a cheeseburger that everybody else has. I think it's rewarding to do something crazy outside the box
Yeah.
that spreads joy, frankly.
Yeah. What was your first restaurant that you started? Was it Sammy's?
It was Sammy's. And that came from necessity.
Explain that necessity.
Sure. I think it's an interesting story. So my father and I were doing some Amazon business, and that's where I actually fell in love with design. But my mother was working for Long John's, and her company got bought out. And she'd been working there for 25 years at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It got bought out, and a lot of stuff changed for her. Started changing rapidly, and she wasn't enjoying her job anymore, and she loved her job. She'd be happy doing that her whole life and had been. And she started coming home very upset all the time, and my dad was, it was bothering my dad. He's trying to figure out what he could do, and of course he was still working. And I'm trying to think of how to say this. Me and my father joked around about intimidating this guy that was running, because basically what it was is the new owner had a problem with women. They treated women differently.
Gotcha.
Right? With less respect.
Gotcha.
And my mom's one of the strongest people that I've ever known, definitely one of the strongest women. And so she was struggling with that, and she didn't know what to do. And so Dad and I came up with a plan to give her a restaurant that she could run. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And if my father taught me anything, it's how to be ambitious. He taught me a lot, but how to be ambitious. So next thing you know, we had found a building. We were renting a building, and we didn't know what we were yet.
Yeah.
And we spent the entire summer figuring out what we're going to be and for this place for my mom to run. Now, put it in perspective about my mom hating her job. The guy who owned those, he actually went to prison and lost 40 franchises after this. And his head guy, who was the area manager, went to prison.
Oh, wow.
So there was some bad stuff going on.
Right, yeah.
And, now there's no Long Johns in Martin.
That's true.
Yeah, there's no Long Johns. They tore that down. So all this stuff happened, and we started working on this concept. And originally, my father fell in love with this place in Memphis, Tennessee called the Crepe Cafe, the Crepe Maker. It was a crepe store.
Okay.
And you do these little crepes, and you can do savory ones, or you could do dessert ones or whatever. So we started playing around with that, and I'm trying to make crepes on this crazy crepe maker thing, and I'm just like, Dad, I don't see this. I think we're overthinking this.
Yeah.
Let's just do a sandwich shop. This is, it was a lot of discussion. It wasn't just that simple, but let's just do a sandwich shop. And right at that time, it just so happened to be the perfect timing where Quiznos was going out of business left and right because of some bad business practices all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's right. I haven't seen a lot of Quiznos.
They made you can look into that story. It's a very interesting read. But anyways, they started closing all over the country. We didn't have very much money. We took basically $30,000 that we had and bought a bunch of restaurant equipment from Quiznos. Took all the practices that my parents had learned through corporate restaurants. Hired some people, ran out of money, borrowed $5,000 from my cousin. I did all the design work for the signage and stuff, and came up with the cool sayings. We still didn't know what we were going to be called. And so one day we were coming up with names and all these silly names because we knew we were going to have toasted sandwiches, Toasties, and we also did a ton of research about restaurants and mostly fast food because that was our skill set.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't call Sammy's a fast food restaurant. We call it quick service or fast casual.
Fast casual. I like fast
But
casual.
I didn't invent that. I think Chipotle did. But a lot of these restaurants, the Hardee's, Wendy's, Mickey D's, everybody shortens it to an E's sound. So during this time was also the height of Rachel Ray. She kept calling Sammy's about sandwiches. You call them little Sammy's. And so that was one of the things that helped us get to Sammy's, which just means slang. It's slang for sandwiches. A lot of people think that Sammy is a guy or something, but it's not. It's just slang for sandwiches. And of course, Sammy's been around for 15 years, almost. We're almost at the 15-year mark. And
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a big step. Small business getting to 15 years, that's big.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. But yeah, so we came up with a name. We invested all the money we had. We trained as fast as we could. We ran out of money. My cousin let me borrow $5,000, got us open, and we opened the doors and lines out the door. And we have been a busy, blessed restaurant since. And I don't know, it's been incredible. Like my mom had her restaurant to run. She was able to quit and get away from all that crap, frankly, and do her thing. And, people love my mom. They knew her as the Long John's lady because she was always so nice, so hospitable, very, very good at customer service, very good at employees, like dealing with the personnel and things like that. So then my father was always big in hospitality. So we talked heavily on, even though we're a fast casual restaurant, we still want you to go out and meet your guests. These are the people that are going to come every single week, and eat. And you want you to meet them and give them that experience. Because we noticed that during that time is when hospitality, especially at fast food chains, was dying. Big time. Fell off a cliff, frankly. And so we saw it as an opportunity to make ourselves stand out.
What makes somebody feel something when they walk into Sammy's? What is it that makes them engaged whenever they come in?
As soon as you walk in the door, we greet you. Welcome to Sammy's, because we mean it. Welcome. We want you to be welcomed. From you having to stand in line for a minute to get a sandwich, to sitting down, to taking a bite, want the bite to be welcoming, everything about it. So as soon as you walk in the door, you're getting greeted. Or you should be. You should be. But even the sayings on the walls and stuff like that are supposed to be fun.
Give me some of the sayings for people that haven't been into Sammy's.
One of my favorite sayings that is on the outside of the building says, "Soon to be world famous."
I love it.
Okay, it's a fun saying because you can always answer it with "soon." Well, when are you going to be world famous? Well, soon. See, soon. It's a joke. When we did that, I didn't really think we were going to be world famous. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I was just trying to spread joy. I thought it was funny. And I thought some people would think it was funny. But we've got other sayings on the wall, like carpe bacon. And it's that fist that's in there is actually my hand. I took a picture of my hand, and I drew a piece of bacon and did all that. And I just thought it was funny. That was when everybody on the internet was getting obsessed with bacon, was at that era. It's about 12 years ago or something like that. So that one, and we've got a lot of them. We've got a one that kind of makes fun of how you say the word gyro, because everybody says euro differently. Gyro, gyro, gyro.
I never know. I never know the right way to say it.
Yeah, and I think ours says, no matter how you say it, it's still delicious, I got one that says the path to deliciousness starts here. It's just a lot of fun things.
That is cool. The hospitality side, that's something I can tell just by your conversation here. You're genuine with that.
Absolutely.
You absolutely, when somebody comes into one of your restaurants, you engage with them, or your staff engages with them.
Absolutely.
And you're grateful. You're grateful they're there.
Absolutely grateful. And that's one of the struggles that we have in the modern restaurant era that we're in now, is to try to train some younger people for them to be grateful that our customers are there, because that's the reason why they have a job. And it's for many other reasons too, just to be a happier person. If you walk up and you smile to someone and they smile back, it's a great moment.
Yeah.
Both of you are exchanging this great feeling. Even if it's in passing for just a half a second, you're at Walmart and you get a half a smile and they half smiled, they're having a little bit of a better day after that.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's, I try to be that way everywhere I go. I'm always smiling at people and making eye contact, and try to train some of these younger guys to do that stuff too. And obviously that works in a restaurant. It makes things more hospitable for the hospitality side. And, yeah, it's very important. It's very important. I was watching your podcast with Joe Fain, and he talks a lot about it. He's dead on. You know, it's one of the ways that we can compete with the big giant guys. You know, you go to Sammy's, you get welcomed as soon as you walk in. You go to McDonald's, you don't. You know, you go to Wendy's, you don't. It's a different thing there. They're just all about speed and money. And while those things are important, you need to be fast, you need to be profitable, but your guest needs to feel special.
Hospitality can overcome a lot. Hospitality can bring people in that wouldn't normally come in. Hospitality can also cure loneliness. I mean, you really bring people into like a family type feel.
Sure.
Where they're invited, you want them to be there and everything.
Absolutely. And I want you to feel that in multiple layers, you know, from even how the restaurant is designed, with sayings like I've talked about with Sammy's, but even the grind and even wood fire, you know, there's stuff on the walls to make you feel extra welcome. You walk in, I realized when I was designing wood fire, the way we had it laid out is the only way we could, that you couldn't see the hostess stand when you walked in. It's impossible to immediately see the hostess stand, because I want you to make eye contact with one of my guys or gals as soon as you walk in and be greeted. And so we had to put on the wall, welcome pizza lovers. You know, we did a big thing right when you walk in that back door that says welcome pizza lovers. And that's important. So you can at least be greeted by something, you know, whether it's a person or not. So you walk past that and now you're actually being greeted by the hostess. Of course, sometimes at lunch, when it's not super busy, we will have a seat yourself. But I'm just saying that's there to at least greet you in some kind of way, whether you see it or not. Hopefully you do. But
the last time I was at Woodfire, some of the sayings on the wall did catch my eyes, and they did draw me in. I did see the hospitality there. So you are doing exactly what you say. It is a unique experience for sure.
Thank you.
What's the difference between serving food and creating belonging?
I mean, serving food is exactly that, you know, and it's taking food to the table. It's doing the minimum for service, and making someone feel like they belong is, you know, I like to say, if you leave my restaurant and it felt like the restaurant gave you a hug, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying for the restaurant to give you a hug, and without actually touching you, you know, but we're trying to make you feel like the restaurant just gave you a hug. We cared about every single aspect of your dining experience. We don't always pull it off, and probably we don't fully pull it off as much as we actually do pull it off. So, but we try to. Yeah. And I think it's important that your guests see that you try, even when bad things happen. You know, if you go to a restaurant, for example, and you get served, we'll just use steaks, for example. You get served a steak and you ordered it medium rare and it came out medium well, and they dropped it down and you're like, dang, it's medium well. And they're like, how's the steak? And you're like, well, it's cooked wrong. I'll fix it. And they grab it and they take it back and then they get you and it's right. And you're like, yeah, okay, it's right. And you're eating it, but you're still feeling off.
Yeah.
If you got great service and hospitality and you're someone really cared, or at least made you think they really cared, right? And they went and got your steak and they brought it back and it was medium instead of medium rare at that stage, you would probably accept it and you would probably think about it in a better way than you would have, even though your steak got cooked perfectly the last time with the regular service. So my point about saying that is it will help you when you are having a bad day, your food isn't cooked perfectly.
Yeah.
The great service will make up for it. Your guests will still come back and eat again and try it again, because it'll still come away with a great memory. And that's kind of the best way I can say the difference between just serving and then serving with a great hospitality, making people feel belonged, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Is if you give them that feeling, they will come back because it's kind of something that is craveable.
Absolutely.
It's craveable.
Yes.
As time rolls on and service like that is less and less, it becomes a thing that we crave, and that's another thing that we try to do at our restaurants is create craveable dishes. I want something that, you go to Sammy's, most people have their own thing that they always like there. I always get this because I had it and I love it and I crave it, and they eat one once a week. And so we want to do that same thing with hospitality. We want to make you crave our hospitality and the smiles, and you're smiling back. And I think that partially goes back to how that art is dying off. I think we're seeing a resurgence of it, not just from us, but from other places. But it's ultimately has died off.
Did you mention things that your father taught you? Did your father teach you hospitality, or did your mother? Where did that come from? I mean, I know they were in the restaurant business, but how did that translate over to your businesses, over to Sammy's?
Sure, it was definitely my father. He was the hospitality guy. My mom was fantastic at customer service, but my dad knew a lot about hospitality and how to spread joy in the dining room. We do that big time at the grind. We call it magic. We do magic, and it's very important. When we first opened, we didn't quite know the grind was going to be what it kind of turned into.
Yeah.
We just were going to be a cool, hip burger bar that had lots of beer selections and crazy milkshakes and burgers. And when we opened the doors and it went absolutely bonkers for 3 straight years, I was stuck in the kitchen and my father was in the front of the house. And we both had discussions about how crazy that restaurant could be. And we just decided to throw gasoline on fire. And so my dad ran with it. And he knew hospitality. He knew how to teach everybody to make everyone feel special. He always called it schmoozing the guest. We would schmooze the guests.
Yeah.
So we took that and we ran with it and started doing crazy things. When we had lines out the street, we had servers racing the kids up and down the street before open, and we have all kinds of crazy antics that happen at the grind, secret menu showings, and if you go there and you say you get a Joe Booze. Have you ever seen the movie Major League?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So we have a drink there called Joe Booze Rum, and it's a little shot of pineapple upside down cocktail, but it's just a shot. If you drink it and you say bartender needs another refill, the bartender will throw you a little armband that says, "Yo, bartender, Joe Boo needs another refill." So we do a lot of fun secret antics at the grind.
Yeah.
If you know kind of thing. But I came up with the antic ideas, but Dad was the one that said, "Hey, we should do all this fun stuff." And be very genuine and talk to the guests and get the guests talking about themselves, because that's what always creates a great memory. It's, they're classic salesman tactics, but they work for your guests too. You get the guests talking about themselves and they're having a great time, and you're also creating great food and memories with your family. Absolutely, my dad came up with all that.
So your father and the grind, what was the transition? Because Sammy's was for your mom, you
Sure.
said. So Sammy's was a way to get your mom to have this new place to work, to have this new experience. What prompted the grind? What prompted that start?
Well, we decided, of course, we opened a Sammy's in Union City 2 years after the first one. Union City was saying, we want one really bad. So we decided to do it. And then fast forward some years later, it was 2017 is when we actually opened the grind. So it's almost been 10 years for that.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of started, my dad was like, we need to do a bar and grill. Martin doesn't have a bar and grill. That was the first words. And him and I sat down and we had an opportunity to turn this one restaurant that was currently open at the time and get the lease from them. And we were going to keep all the equipment and create this thing. Well, essentially, that deal got yanked out from underneath us. And then we had another opportunity to do that again. And that deal got yanked out from underneath us. So we kept going back to the drawing board, is my point. Because we started with an Applebee's clone. We started at Applebee's because that sounds awful. Okay. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So we started with an Applebee's idea. And then we started growing the idea and making it a little crazier, and we kept having to go back to the drawing board. It kept sitting on the shelf for a year or two after those deals. So it eventually sat on the shelf, and we had the deal done. We bought the building, and we just took it to the extreme. And that's when we started noticing that our posts on Facebook were getting crazy. And that was when the internet first started getting crazy about food. Like, that was Facebook was exploding. Yeah. And it was less about short form video now, like it is now. It was just about the pictures and the place. And so we started posting that stuff, and we started getting all this attention, and we're like, hey, I think we're going to be busier than we thought, but I'm not sure yet. And yeah, I'm trying to go back to your original question, where you said, how did that come out or come to be? But essentially, it just came to be of us wanting to do more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always wanting to do more. And my dad, like I said, my dad taught me one thing. It's ambition, how to be ambitious. And so we wanted to do more.
Yeah. Those early photos on Facebook of the grind, and a lot of those early photos that I remember were of these crazy milkshakes or these crazy desserts that were a mile high and had all sorts of stuff in them. That where did that come from?
Dad used to call them kid sized because they were the size of an actual kid. But we came from, whenever I was a kid, and you're a kid, you have a milkshake and it's so big, and you're a kid. Well, I wanted you to feel that way again.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that I do is designed about how it felt when you were a kid, and the grind's no different. You go inside there, it's my childhood. It's dripping with my childhood in there. All over the stuff on the walls, everything, the food, the slogans on the menu, and the stuff that's being said, and the quips and all that stuff. But the milkshakes are designed to make you feel like a kid because they're so big.
They definitely do that.
So yeah, I think it comes from the first time I came up with that. I was remembering when I was a kid and I went to Shoney's and got the hot fudge sundae, and it's just like this big stacked thing, and I just thought it was so cool, and I was just kind of like, hey, what happens if you just put that on top of a milkshake?
and candy canes and everything. Whenever I look at it, some of them, I just think of like Christmas, because so you're right, it does invoke that child, that inner child.
Yeah, I'm always about that, bringing out your inner child.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that people are starving for those types of experiences in small towns?
I know they are. I think a lot of people see all the crazy fun stuff that cities are doing, and they see that and they want to be a part of that, and they don't want to drive all the way to Nashville. They also don't want to pay Nashville prices, so it's a delicate balance, that you've got to pull off in order to make that profitable. But they do see that stuff all day long on the internet. They want to be a part of it, and they don't want it to just be once a year when they go to some big city. They want these experiences. And I think, people like us and some other restaurant guys have proven that in Martin's a unique area. Northwest Tennessee is unique in this sense. We are rural, surrounded by rural.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of these places are rural and they have a major city outside of there. That's not the case for us. So I tell people this all the time that ask me about it. It's like, how do you expect people to drive to come and eat at one of your restaurants? I said, people do it in the cities all day long. It takes 30 minutes to get from one side of the city to the other to go eat at a restaurant. People do it all the time. It's
Absolutely.
like, why can't they drive from another county that's actually easier, less stress, to just drive on a highway to Weakley County or from Weakley to Paris, whatever, Henry County.
Yeah.
Or any county. We're all right there within about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
People will do it. And they want to do it. And they want to have that experience. They want a really cool atmosphere. And they want to take pictures of it and show their neighbors that they did it. They want to do that. Whether that sounds good or bad, that's what people want to do.
Yeah.
And we want to give them the opportunity to do that.
You do have the college there, which it brings in, but college students a lot of times are poor, if you will.
Sure.
So how do you balance that with your college students?
It's definitely, the college definitely keeps us rolling, but we find that a lot of it isn't college kids all the time. A lot of people think the grind success is based on the college. It's not. That's based on, honestly, families traveling, and anytime the grade school's out, we're busy. It's more of a tourism thing. But Sammy's and Woodfire, they're heavily based on the college. A lot of the professors eat there. A lot of the professionals that work for the college, because that's bringing in a lot of jobs. I don't know how many it is off the top of my head, but hundreds for sure.
Yeah.
And that helps support us. And the college students do too. But yes, we are a little more expensive than your average pizza place or sandwich shop. But that's part of the mom and pop experience. And that's why, if we're going to be more expensive, I want you to have a really as good an experience as possible, because I know you're going to have to pay for it, because we have to be profitable.
The coming around to the third restaurant group, the Woodfire Pizza, that seems like a natural with your dad being in the pizza business.
Sure.
Was that another one that was that him that brought that into creation, or how did you bring that one into creation?
Sure. So my dad's dream, his whole childhood, or not childhood, but probably young adult life, he wanted to open his own pizza place. And I remember he used to have this drawing, and I've lost it, which is sad. It's somewhere. I was going to frame it and put it in Woodfire. But it was a drawing of this place called Wise Guys. And it was his pizza place. And I'll never forget it. He showed it to me when I was a kid. And he wanted to do that a long time ago. Life didn't have that out for him in the cards type thing. And we did the grind, and it was a huge success and very blessed. And we just saw an opportunity to put something like Woodfire in downtown. We saw that opportunity for a while, but we didn't have the means to do so. And so it was mostly his idea. He didn't know if he actually wanted to be involved with it, because he's starting to get older and he was starting to get more tired, and he was running out of fuel kind of to do another restaurant. Because restaurants, I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of people that have this romantic thing about owning a restaurant.
Yeah.
They feel like it's very romantic. It's very stressful. It's very stressful. I mean, I always say this too. You never know when a deer is going to jump through your window.
Oh yeah. that actually happened for you.
It very much did happen at the grind. So you never know when a deer is going to jump through your window and run through your dining room and cause a ton of chaos and then go viral all over the internet.
Yeah.
Super viral.
It did go super
It went
viral.
super duper viral. So, anyways, back to the wood fire thing. Yeah, it was a little bit of his idea. He didn't know if we wanted to do it or not. I talked him into it. Let's push. Let's do it. We can do it. And so he agreed. And we started that process with getting the building. We had this. He said, "Hey, we need to put this oven in the middle of the dining room." Because I had a different vision of where that oven was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But he really wanted to put this oven in the middle of the dining room. And we're in this big old building that's old from 1896.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if we can do that. We hadn't bought it yet. We're just in there thinking about it. So we got a contractor in there and we started talking about some crazy stuff. Hey, can we put this, 7,000 pound oven that we haven't bought yet in the middle of this dining room? And flew it out of this place from the bottom floor all the way up through 3 floors. And they said, yeah, we can do that. And they said, well, how do we get rid of these 2 poles to open this dining room up to have some more? It's like, we can put a steel beam across it. We just got to get a structural engineer involved. So we went to Jackson, called Jackson, got a structural engineer, made it happen, bought the building. He signed off on it, bought the building. And, we started wrecking the building out because it was an old dive bar. And it was a famous old dive bar from the 70s. And then a family bought it and they fixed it up in a different way. And it was a cool hangout spot for a while. And then COVID changed some things. Right before COVID, actually, someone else had leased it to be something else. And then when COVID hit, it just closed immediately.
Yeah.
And so it just been sitting there. And we started wrecking it all out. And I went into City Hall one day, and this is between us, the City Hall guy got indicted, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of a...
That's pretty public.
Yeah, okay. Went into City Hall, and our city planner was there, and he said, hey, you should sign up for this grant. I was like, what grant? You should sign up for this. I'll do whatever I can do to help you get it. Mm-hmm. And, it's a whole bunch of red tape. Mm-hmm. So we signed up for it.
It was a historic preservation type grant?
Yes, it was a historic facade grant. So it would be something that would help us redo the outside. And what a lot of people don't know about that building, all the windows were bricked up. Like the original windows were bricked up and there were these tiny little windows on the outside. The front of the building had burnt off in the 40s, so there was no pictures of what that building used to look like. The roof was bad. It needed some roof. We needed 3-phase electricity coming in to save, we just needed more electricity, everything about it. And this grant was going to help us with all of that. And so I signed up for it, not being very excited about the whole ordeal, but thinking if we could do that, we could do a lot more on the inside. And so fast forward over about half a year, we got the email that said we were awarded the grant. And my parents were on vacation in the Caribbean. I called my dad, with the spotty cell phone service. Dad, we did it. We did it. Yeah. And, this is a big grant. It's public. It was $227,000, I think.
That goes a long way.
It's a lot. Yeah. It allowed us to get a brand new roof. And like I said, all that stuff that we needed, and open up the windows and custom windows that are like the old ones from 1896 that used to be there.
It's beautiful there.
Well, thank you.
It's beautiful.
And it allowed us to do all that stuff. And so I told them, we celebrated over the phone. My parents came home to Nashville. They landed in Nashville from the trip 2 days later, and my dad had a massive heart attack and died in Nashville, downtown Nashville. And that changed everything. That was do we even want to do this? Like, what are we doing? We just lost a huge part of our brain trust. And my father, business partner, friend, not in that order, but all of it, it was very tough. Me and my mom obviously tried to grieve, but I had to make a decision if we were going to get started on this project for real, or if we're just going to basically just sulk. And I decided that we were going to continue pushing forward because that's what my father, I wanted to do it, but that's what my dad wanted us to do. He didn't want us to sit there and sulk. So I made the decision. I grieved for about a month. It was tough.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started work, and we started working on wood fire. And it was literally the hardest thing I've ever done, by far. The hardest thing. I was getting tons of pressure from the community. When are you going to open? When are you going to open? When are you going to open? And I'm like, man, I promise I'm trying to do something really special. It takes a lot of time to think of it all. And I just lost half of my brain,
Yeah.
Who would help me think of a lot of cool stuff. And so it took us about 3 years to get Woodfire open.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it was all the reconstruction. Part of it was the grant. We had to wait. We were playing hurry up and wait with that, because there's a lot of red tape, and if you mess it up, they'll yank it from you. And we didn't want to. We want to do everything the way it's supposed to be done, do it right. Of course, a lot of it was, let's make sure this building's not going to collapse, and so on and so forth. But that was the hardest thing I've ever done. And
did you want to quit?
I absolutely wanted to quit. I wanted to get in my car and drive to Mexico.
Yeah.
Somewhere, just off somewhere far away,
mm-hmm.
and hide. Whenever I go eat at a restaurant and I'm getting tapped on the back, when's that pizza place going to open? Hey, when do you open it? And I'm just doing every single thing I can to grieve the loss of my father and build this amazing thing that I was trying to build and do something really special. It was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of great support from my wife and my mother and my team, all that stuff, but still, it was incredibly hard.
Mm. What did it feel like when you opened?
Amazing. It felt amazing. The way the community showed up and supported us and cheered us on and made it a big deal, and the state came down and they made it a big deal. They had never done anything like that, where they'd given a grant to a business that wasn't a business yet, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. They'd made a big deal. I mean, it was epic. It was huge. It was amazing. It felt incredible. It was one of the best feelings of my life. So all that hard work and pain and struggle was, it's as good as it can be. It's as sweet as it could be.
Did you get the oven put in the middle like your dad wanted?
Absolutely. We sure did. We figured it out. And that was quite the Herculean effort.
Yeah.
To get it in there. We had to support the roof first. And so the contractor built a supporting wall out of wood. And then we tore the cast iron columns down and built new steel beams around it. Of course, we had to pour new footers and all that kind of stuff. And we put the beams in and supported the whole roof. And then we parked the oven underneath it. They had to go get some giant forklift in order to bring it. They had to tear the front walls down of the building, drive the forklift up in there, and put it underneath the beam.
Wow.
And they had to get the beam up, they had to get 2 sky lifts or 2 sky tracks or whatever to lift that thing up. And then they welded it all. It was crazy. I've got it all on video. I was like, well, this is either going to be amazing or we're all going to die. But the oven actually weighs more than the 42-foot long steel beam that we put in there.
Yeah.
So
you said, what, 7,000 pounds?
Yeah.
That is a massive oven.
It's a monster. It's an absolute monster.
It does set off the atmosphere in there, though. It is really cool the way that it is set up right in the middle of the space.
Yeah. That's what we wanted you to be able to see it, kind of see the magic of it, and feel some of the warmth of the oven, but not kill you with heat. But you get a little bit even, and of course you could see inside there, the lighting is, I went insane with the lighting. I really wanted to hammer home that warmth in every corner of that place.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go upstairs and it's totally my dream arcade from my childhood.
Yeah. You like gaming.
Yeah.
Is that what inspired that loft area up there, that second floor?
Sure. Well, honestly, what inspired it was Pizza Hut. We've got the Pizza Hut booth in there, which is an amazing homage to my parents' first date. It was at Pizza Hut in Union City. So that's just a little thing. Like, we wouldn't be here right now if my parents didn't have that first date, at Pizza Hut. So I got the real Pizza Hut Tiffany lamp. And of course, we got the booths that look like Pizza Hut, and we got the tablecloth. And so we wouldn't be having this moment if it wasn't for that first date at Pizza Hut. So I put that there as an homage to that. But it's really, the whole upstairs is really like an homage to Pizza Hut in the 90s, where they had a little arcade.
Yeah.
This is the indulgent version of it, right? We took it and ran with it and lit it on fire.
Yeah.
And put a little arcade bar up there. But the original idea was just a few. And then because of some fire code things, we couldn't have as many people sitting up there as we wanted. So I was like, okay, well, we're going to fill it up with video games.
Yeah.
And people love it. They love their kids going up there and playing pinball. The kids love it. My aunt from Smyrna is coming down with her kids because that's where her kids want to go. All the way from Smyrna. They would come down for their birthday to go at Woodfire and play the arcade upstairs.
Yeah.
So that was a great...
How many games do you have up there?
I think we have 9. Excuse me, we have 11 because we have 2 arcade games and 9 pinball machines. And I have more pinball machines than that, and I rotate them in and out because I like pinball machines.
You talked a little bit about what it's like to do all this, and you've learned a lot about construction now.
Sure.
You've learned about leases, and you've learned more than just how to be a chef, how to be somebody to provide a great meal. What is stress look like for you?
Stress is a lot nowadays. I constantly have that, the bigger they are, the harder they fall kind of thought in the back of my head. But, we employ, and most of them aren't full-time employees, but we employ anywhere from 150 to 200 people.
Wow.
At any time.
Yeah.
And like I said, most of them are part-timers and stuff, but there's a lot of people. We're feeding there's a lot of families getting fed, or a lot of lifestyles getting funded and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff bothers, if we're slow, it puts a little stress on my thoughts or whatever. But there's that. And then there's lots of things to be stressed out. I bought a brand new mixer with the hope that it would cause me less stress, and it's broken down 3 times. We're not talking about
it's not those ones that they always try to sell McDonald's for their milkshakes.
No. I'm talking about a dough mixer, and we're talking about the most reputable brand in the world in mixing. We're talking about a $30,000 mixer.
Oh wow!
Okay, we're
it's not
talking
a
about
Cuisinart.
We're talking about something that my son at my age should still be using. Yeah. It's called a Hobart Legacy for a reason. It's broken down 3 times. It's caused more stress because we have an old backup. We always try to have backups of certain really important things, like the mixer. So our old tank, as we called it, Hobart mixer, we have it upstairs. Well, this thing breaks down. It's broken down 3 times. We have to take that thing, and it weighs 800 pounds. It's huge. And get it downstairs and rehook it up, and then have to make dough, and we have to make it happen really fast. So that's just one simple thing. It's always something.
Yeah.
It's always something. Especially when we have 4 or 5 restaurants open, we got stuff breaking down all day long, every day. The air goes out, the heat's out. Deer jumping through windows, the leaks and water leaks, and the power's out. The power goes out in the area where the grind and Sammy's is, and it can be out sometimes for hours. You're not making any money from 2 revenue streams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we don't want to send all of our guys home. We always try to keep them working as much as possible. So a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress.
When I think of cooking, I think of the ingredients that go into whatever it is you're preparing. How do you source all of those ingredients?
Sure. We use a company called GFS, and we like them a lot because they are service based, and that's kind of what we are. Their motto is customer is king, and we have that same mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So we find it to be a great pairing of business partnership. But we buy a tremendous amount of food. We're buying $2.2 million worth of food a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that company makes sure that we're getting our products.
Mm-hmm.
If there's some kind of shortage, they're going to go find it. I've had them go to Texas to get sub rolls. I've had them drive all over the place to get it because they're going to get it. I've had them buy it from their own competitors. So they jump through a million hoops for us. And I think as they should, because we're one of their best customers in the whole state. So yeah, it makes they make it easy. If I find a product that they don't have, they will get it.
Yeah.
They will figure out a way to get it. If I'm like, hey, we're going through this right now with these special tomatoes that we get that are actually grown in Canada. It sounds crazy, but they make this really special, perfectly sweet tomato that we put in our bruschetta at Woodfire. And they are jumping through hoops to get it. Our sales guy is driving to Memphis all the time to go to Kroger and get it.
Yeah.
Or going to Clarksville to get it, because they have to.
Yeah.
But they told me when we made a deal, they said that I could get this tomato. So I'm always trying to be like, hey, this isn't going to be one of those things where you guys can't get it 5 months later. And they're like, oh, no, we'll get it.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be that way. So it is tough. And I would do more local business. And I've had opportunities to do some local farmer stuff. But nowadays, it's so dangerous because if those farms aren't being inspected and something bad happens, or maybe not farms, but if I had a young woman that wanted us to use hot honey that she made, and I really wanted to use the product, but it wasn't made in an inspected kitchen, and it has to be. It has to be. And I told her that I was like, please, if you can get this, I'll definitely buy it from you and not from Mike's Hot Honey, which we love that product, but hers was better and it was local. It's locally sourced and everything. But she couldn't prove that she had it.
Hot honey, I think, was it hot honey on the pizza?
The Tennessee humidity?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
It's a huge hit. People love that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to use her product. I just couldn't because she didn't get inspected by the health department. So, and we need that in case something bad happens. It's if you're not careful, people can come to get you for anything.
Sure.
They come after you. They can. And we want to do it right anyways.
Yeah.
We want to do it the right way by the law. So.
Yeah. You've talked about your father quite a bit and about the ambition. And you chose to stay in rural West Tennessee. What impact does that have, do you believe, in community whenever you can retain talent and retain ambition? Or what happens to those small towns when ambition leaves?
I think it's incredibly important. I think that is one of the reasons why I did stay, is me and my dad both saw an opportunity in Martin, Tennessee, to do something special because the biggest competition at that time was, one mom and pop buffet joint in town that had been there for a long time. It was a kind of a staple, and then fast food. And that was it. There was a handful of and Mexican restaurants, and they were successful too. But we saw opportunity, and I think it's important for people to see that and not just go rush off to the city because of some grandiose idea that you think is possible. Because I think you can pull that off in small towns, just at the small town version. You don't have to. I think it allows you to be more competitive and be successful, in a small town than rushing off to Nashville or Memphis. You know, all the lights and all that stuff are beautiful, and the fun stuff that you can do. But I think it's great for entrepreneurs. I think it's ripe for entrepreneurs to keep that talent in a small town. If they can just get past the seeing the lights and realize that they can create their own lights.
Yeah.
You know, they can create their own lights. And I think you're starting to see that more in some smaller towns. You know, I'm seeing a lot more cooler spots. I like to think that we help some of that mentality, at least in our part of the our county. And I hope that keeps happening. You know, I just went to Paris Station the other day. That was a really cool spot. You know, that's these places like Woodfire and Paris Station and Oak Lawn and Blake's and many places. You used to only see those places in cities. Now you're seeing them pop up more and more in smaller towns. But those are just restaurant opportunities. I mean, there's opportunities for engineers. You know, if we do stuff like projects like we're doing, it opens up more doors for more people, more talent to stay. That's the way I see it. If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. The talent, retaining talent in the rural communities to me is wildly important.
Sure.
So somebody like you to be successful in what it is that you're doing is a huge lift for other people, as you're alluding to see the opportunity to stay in the rural communities, and you can build something special in those areas. I
absolutely believe that. I believe it's incredibly important.
And do you think, how about this question? Do small towns produce more authentic creativity because people have to build something from scratch?
I think they can. I don't know if it's as definitive as they have to, but I think it can have impact on that. You know, when we were doing, I can just speak for myself. What we did, you know, the Sammy's thing came from our perspective, necessity. My mom was miserable. And she never was in the past. She was very happy and loved her job. And so we decided that we were going to create something that she could run. It was busier than we imagined, and it did more sales than we thought. You know, here we are nowadays, and we're about to open up our third one in Milan, Tennessee.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Good thing your mom was unhappy. For the rest of us, good thing your mom was unhappy.
I mean, these are the silver linings of life. You know, there's many, many of them. The Lord works in mysterious ways, as the famous saying goes, and it's absolutely true. You have to try to find the good in everything.
What would you like to see more of in Northwest Tennessee?
Sure. I'd definitely like to see more tourism. I am on the Northwest Tennessee Tourism Board, and I'm constantly saying, Kentucky's right there. How do we get more people from Kentucky and into the state, and not just at Reelfoot Lake, which has been the drive for Northwest Tennessee and Kentucky Lake for a long, long time, you know, in Paris. How do we get more people coming? And I think amenities, restaurants, cool places, cool things to do is one of the ways to do it. Because I think if we don't do it, some of these other smaller towns that aren't part of Northwest Tennessee are going to do it even more, and they're just going to keep driving them away. So I think it's very important to get more people into this area, to retain talent. I think it's important for things like UTM to increase their population, their student population, which Dr. Yancey's talking about really pushing to get to 10,000. I think that's great for the area. I think that will help us retain talent, because if we retain 10% of the talent that comes in and out of UTM every 4 years, if it's at 10,000, that's significantly more talent.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's very important for these towns to get some of these larger businesses in, you know, and retain the factories that are there. You know, I know Obion still struggles partially because of when Goodyear left. You know, they're recovering well, and they've got a lot of cool stuff there. You know, Discovery Park of America is incredible. But I think it's very important for these towns to try to hold on to these large businesses or attract new large businesses. to grow these areas, because places like Nashville are getting incredibly large, but they're also like the people are romanticizing that so much. There's so much fame and stuff in Nashville now. There's every celebrity seems to live there now. And then, of course, on the outskirts of all that, those are small towns, and they're starting to get more and more and bigger. We could be getting some of that. Northwest Tennessee is a very special place.
Mm.
You can leave your doors unlocked here most of the time.
True.
And that's a funny thing to tell people whenever I go somewhere and I tell them, oh, I'm from a really small town. You've probably never heard of it. And they're like, tell me the closest big town. Nashville, right? And I'm like, that's 3 hours away.
Yeah.
And Memphis is almost 3 hours away. And it's maybe you've heard of Jackson.
Yeah.
Maybe, which is not a small town by any means, but I think it's incredibly important for them to grow industry in these smaller towns. Mm-hmm. And that will just attract more talent and more fun things to do, hopefully, and not so much all the crime and bad stuff that can happen.
With tourism, how far do you what's your reach whenever you look out there for people to come to one of your restaurants? Are you looking at people 15 minutes away, 30 minutes away, an hour away? What do you consider the reach that you have to bring people in?
The Grind has had people, and they've told us this, and we've had them repeat customers from Louisville. They drive down just to eat at the Grind, and then they found out about Discovery Park, and now they go do that and come to the Grind. We have people from Hot Springs, Arkansas. We have people from Atlanta. We've had people from miles and miles and miles away.
Yeah.
Hours away, many times, not just once or twice. We have Corvette groups show up that drive across the country, and they start in Indiana and come swing down to Martin and jump down to Memphis. And we have Camaro groups, we have Harley groups, Jeep groups, all of that stuff. We have all that, and they're traveling and they're making pit stops in Martin, spending real money from another state to come to Martin, Tennessee. And I think that's awesome.
That is awesome.
I would say the majority of those probably an hour or less.
Yeah.
So the Mayfields and Paris and other counties. So it's usually about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But we get a lot of people from Jackson and Paducah as well.
Does Martin, I would say the leadership at Martin, the city of Martin, understands the impact. Does the community rally around your restaurants?
They do. A lot of them were not as receptive to the Grind. And I hate that, but basically what the deal was is when we opened, we got so many people trying to get in there, the towners, the locals couldn't get in.
Yeah.
And I think they got a little mad about that, and that was never my intention. So I made sure with Woodfire, I wanted to make sure the town felt welcome first. We weren't pressing it too much on Facebook and stuff like that, because I wanted the town to be able to come and enjoy it. And the inside of Woodfire, there's all kinds of nods to the history of Martin.
Yeah, there
inside of it. There's a ton of them. There's some secret ones that people won't realize. Even like the Martin made, our brewing company is named that. My grandmother used to work at Martin Hams. When I was a kid, and which is no longer in business or anything, but even some parts of Martin that may not be celebrated at all are celebrated there. For example, across the street from that ham house out on the old Sharon Highway was a place called the Gateway Trailer Park, which is where I grew up and as a child. And we named a pizza after the Gateway Trailer Park. It's our supreme pizza. It's called the Gateway Trailer Park. And most people aren't going to know that reference. It's a really old trailer park, and now it's called something else. And I don't even think anybody lives there. It looks pretty bad, but it is a part of my history. It's part of my childhood. So
the secret's out about Woodfire. You can't keep that under wraps anymore. You know that,
right?
You guys brew your own beer there?
Sure, we sure do.
How many different types of beer do you brew?
We have, at any given time, we should have three We're a small microbrewery, so we're not trying to bottle it. We're not trying to do any of that stuff. We're just trying to create, fresh brewed beer.
Mm-hmm.
And we are having some more fun with it nowadays. We do a sour beer from time to time. We're about to try to do a shandy, which is kind of like a sweeter, lighter beer. But yeah, we're working towards having 5 beers at any given time, and it's tough for us because there's not a lot of space.
Yeah,
and when you brew that stuff, our system allows you to have something special because those tanks that are sitting out front, they're actually just turned into giant kegs. So they can store the beer, and I don't have to keg it all up and then put it in my walk-in where there's a tremendous amount of dough as well. The walk-in's full of dough at any given time because we do a 3-day ferment on our dough. So it takes 3 days. We make the dough, and then it sits for 3 days, and then we serve it. So it's real good dough. That's one of the reasons why it's good. And that's also why it's good for your gut. It doesn't hurt your stomach and all that kind of stuff because it's, the proteins in that. When you mix dough, I know I'm getting off subject.
No, this is fascinating.
When you mix dough, the proteins inside that dough are like in knots.
Yeah.
And if you bake it right then and there, which is 9 times out of 10 how any bread is made in this country, it goes into your gut, and your gut has to untie all those knots. And that can cause stomach issues. Whereas our dough naturally makes those proteins do this. By the time we are cooking it, your stomach has no problem digesting that stuff.
It's fascinating.
I learned it in New York at a real pizzeria. Me and my wife went to New York and worked in a pizzeria for a week and got our butts kicked. It was great. It was real. It was in Staten Island. So it was like real New Yorkers.
Yeah.
It was really awesome. I really loved doing it. Those guys were great.
So you learned a little bit of the secrets up there on how to make it. Forgive me, but do you throw it up in the air and do all of that?
We do when you're good at it.
Okay.
If you prove that you're good at it, you can toss the dough.
Okay.
Because it does sling, semolina, which is kind of like cornmeal or in flour everywhere. But if you get good at it, it's worth it. It takes a little practice, but we teach everybody first how to do it. The slap out method or the press method. My wife is really the only one that slaps dough because she can do it like a machine. You're talking about bam, 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 bam. And because she worked at Papa John's, she learned that technique from Papa John's. But her and another guy that works at Domino's, or used to work at Domino's, they learned how to slap dough that way. So if you can do it, I'll let you do it however you want.
Yeah.
But we have some dough tossing practices.
Yeah. That sounds fun.
It
right
is
there.
when we're busy and we've got one of our aces back there throwing dough. People are watching. They're seeing it. They're falling in love with the whole pizza kitchen right there.
Yeah.
That's why that place is called Woodfire Pizza Kitchen, because it's the heart of the restaurant. It literally is. It's right centered like your heart and everything. So, it's awesome whenever it's an orchestra and it's perfectly happening. It's beautiful.
So you went to New York and got some insight on dough making. Where did the beer making come from?
My dad used to brew beer before it was cool when I was a kid. Like, he befriended this guy in Paducah who had a little hobby beer store because he used to work in Paducah all the time. And he decided he was going to start making beer. So and he doesn't even drink beer. My dad was not a drinker or anything. He just liked to make stuff. Mm-hmm. And so our bathtubs would have not beer in the tub, but the thing that you carburate beer in, and it would sit in the bathtub. It would be this big glass thing. It would be real small batch stuff. Yeah. So he used to do that when I was a kid. He wasn't that great at it. He realized that. But we found a way for us to brew beer on a small scale, not have to have a brewmaster, and be a great product. And my father found this. He found a company, and they're called Easy Brew. It sounds like we're cheating, but we're really not. Because part of the hardest part of brewing beer, and I know Perry Logic was here, and they're beloved And a lot of people loved that, and they were doing it the other way, and they were a lot bigger scale than we are. And of course, I think Pear Station bought all their equipment, and they're brewing. But there's this process to make the wort. And
explain what the wort is.
Essentially, it's this process where you have to boil all this stuff down and make a flavor bomb for the beer. Okay, that's the shortest version. You basically make a syrup. And that's the hardest part, is to make that taste good. Okay? The rest is just formulaic, right? Once you have that wort, the rest is a formula. It's time, it's temperature, it's putting in so much sugar and yeast, and that type of thing. So we found a company that made our tanks. They're called Easy Brew, and they create the wort for you. So you get the wort freshly made. It comes in the mail. We dump it. We boil our hops. We get the temps right, because those devices are amazing because they can chill. They can get cold, or they can stay hot. And so we cold crash it. We actually have one done today called the Ralston Red. It's a red beer, and it's named after a kind of a famous street in Martin, or road, Ralston Road. But and we have these thermometers that float in it that we can keep it up all on an iPad and pay attention to it, and make sure everything's working right. We keep with our gravity, which is basically the alcohol volume. And it makes it so me and two other guys can do it all, instead of, it also makes it affordable, because if you have to have a real brewmaster, it costs money. They're expensive. You got to pay somebody. But this allows me to have some guys that I already have on staff to help me out.
Did you get pushback in the city?
I did not. I was actually really expecting it, and went down and talked to the city. They were basically all for it. They had just passed a law, I think, in 2023 or 4, that allowed historic areas to have a brewery. So they were very excited that someone took advantage of that. Yeah, and that whole historic thing. I mean, all that stuff lined up. Like God intended it to happen, frankly. It lined up and perfectly, where they changed that rule. We had the opportunity to do it. We found that company. We got the grant because it was historic site, so on and so forth. And I mean, I didn't get any pushback. I was really worried about it. I really was, because, I'm not trying to be some place where everybody goes down there and gets hammered. I'm just trying to be a place where we make great products that people enjoy, and spread joy, as I say.
Beer and pizza go together.
It's a magical combo. It's a magical combo. And video games too. That's part of it when you're a kid.
Yeah. How does all that storytelling come together for you? You seem to have a passion for storytelling, and you seem to do it through the product that you make.
I don't know exactly, but I will call it obsession. I really want to do things a different way, but also do it the right way. And I learned how to market that way and brand our identities that way, right? Through that. And so I find it very important, especially because a lot of people get confused on what I do for a living. They're like, I didn't see you at the restaurant today. I don't work in the restaurant. I run our companies more like a CEO, and I run them all together like they're one entity, right? So when you have 4 or 5 of them, you need to do that. I can't be inside the restaurants cooking pizzas every day, but I can come up with the recipe and teach everybody how to do it, and then teach someone how to teach someone how to do it. And so people get confused on what exactly I do, but I want the restaurant to feel genuinely like I'm there, or a piece of me is there. And I think that's very important when it comes to like how the grind is full of 80s and 90s stuff. And that's like my childhood, or how Sammy's is full of these fun little funny quips, which if you really know me, I'm a pretty funny guy. I keep to myself most of the time, but I'm a pretty funny guy. And then Woodfire is about the history.
Yeah.
It's about the history of Martin and the history of my family. I mean, like I said, there's so much stuff inside there. I couldn't even tell you all of it. There's so much.
Yeah.
Like hidden little things all over the place. And I don't necessarily want to tell everybody every little detail. I'd
Sure.
like for them to find out these details as time goes on, whether it be a server telling some of them or they're just interested. What is that from? And then they ask somebody and they find out. I went on about the Alton Brown thing earlier. Inside on Alton Brown's show, he had this chicken, a picture of a cooked roasted chicken with a bowler hat hovering over the top of it. That was on his show. Well, he was selling those, and I got one, and I wrote him an email, and he signed it, and it's right dead center in the dining room, and that's just a nod. And if nobody knows, they don't know, but that is a nod to my childhood and how I got to this moment.
Yeah.
Was watching, one of the reasons is watching Alton Brown. And so it deserves to be celebrated, I think, in the middle of the restaurant.
Let's talk about you specifically. And you mentioned something just then that's very interesting about people have an expectation that Alan should be the one back there making the sandwiches, or Alan is the one that's making the milkshakes, or Alan is the one that's making the pizza. What do people not, what is it about Alan that people miss?
I don't know. I've always, like I said, I've always it's been easy to make friends for me. I think, honestly, when you go to any restaurant, if you see the owner there, you're probably thinking, and if they have a good reputation, you're probably thinking, hey, my food's going to be taken care of. I think people worry about that to a degree. And for some people, that's very much needed. I'd say that the perfect example of this is Blake's. I mean, that kid is turning into a little superstar, and I mean, he's rocking. He's in his dining room all the time, greeting everybody, taking pictures of everybody, and that's fantastic. There is a path of that. With me, I want to do other things, and I can't be in my restaurant every single day, and I think people just are struggling to zoom out a little bit. And I can zoom out and see the bigger picture. I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying this right. I don't want to sound like I'm full of myself or nothing, but I just can see this bigger picture of way more stuff that can be done. I see so many opportunities locally, and I'm not talking about across the whole state. I'm talking about Northwest Tennessee. In all kinds of small towns, there's opportunities to create smaller versions of Woodfire, not necessarily a pizza place, other restaurants. And I see these opportunities and I want to do them. I love designing. I love that. That's my favorite part. And that's one of my superpowers. And so I want to do it again and again. And if I can pull it off, I'm going to. So I don't think I really answered your question, but
tell me about the designing. The thing that you like to do the most is designing the menu, the restaurant, the whole atmosphere, the whole storytelling aspect of it.
That is the most fun. I like you to go in and see things that you don't see on a daily basis. That's how I start. Whether that is some kind of unique light that I scored out of a casino that went out of business, because at Woodfire, you got those lights that hang over that main table. They look like two globes.
Yeah.
I got that out of the old casino in Metropolis, the riverboat. They scrapped that whole place, and we went up there and got all kinds of random stuff and turned it into our own thing. I love doing stuff like that. I love taking old stuff and mixing it with new stuff and creating a unique experience or a unique place. That table in the middle, those are 2 container doors that we had for a long time that we turned into a giant table.
Okay.
That's fun to me.
Yeah.
That's really fun to do stuff and show stuff that people don't, like I said, they don't see on a daily basis. Smaller towns, and not talking about anybody's restaurant in general, but they can become so mundane. You go to Walmart, You need a new lamp, you go to Walmart. You go pick the lamp at Walmart. Everybody's got that same lamp, type thing. And from my point of view, I don't want that. I don't want you to experience that because I don't feel like that's an experience. You know what I mean? And so I want you to genuinely look around and be like, where did all this come from? What is this? Where did you find this? And it becomes a little more difficult to do nowadays because of the internet. The internet's, you see so much information constantly. So, and people are on the internet so much nowadays that it can feel like you've been at a place because you've been staring at your phone so long.
Yeah.
So
that experience that you create with the design adds to the meal. I mean, it certainly adds to it. You mentioned several things there throughout the conversation. You mentioned the throwing the dough, the lights and the hidden stuff. It's a huge part of going to a place to go and have a good meal. It's more than just the food.
Sure.
And you bring that into the small towns. You're doing that. You're bringing in those atmospheres, those experiences. So it's more, which is a really cool thing. You talk about superpowers. That's definitely a superpower.
Well, thank you. That's definitely what we're trying to do. I want you to feel like you've left the town, but still are part of the town, if that makes any sense. Because it's like, what is this doing in Martin? And it's just that I didn't necessarily spend any more money than we would have. We just found creative ways to do it. Some of that is also some of the help that I have too. Whereas I have a guy that works for me and he is our maintenance man, but he's also my right-hand man. And I'm like, Mark, we got to build these boxes. I'm not the guy to build it. I'm like, we got to build these boxes and the conduit's going to come down and land. It's going to be like a square box. And we got to put mesh metal for the front of it. And we're going to hang a light by a rope inside of it. And he's like, I got you. And he'll just start building it. He can do that. And part of that is having that help with me on a daily basis, that allows me to think up crazy stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh, yeah. What do people miss about or don't understand about leaders like yourself that may look chaotic?
Yeah. I think, they probably are a little confused on how somebody can do some of the stuff that we do. I get asked that a ton. I get asked by other business owners, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? It's from having a really strong team. It's from before my father passed away in 2022, between me, him, my mom, and my wife, we've got 120 years in the restaurant business. It's from all the stuff that we've learned to lead to this moment right now. It's from, like I said, it's from teaching other people and they're accepting the coaching that we teach and they become part of the brain trust, so to speak. We have an area director that's been with us for since the beginning of the grind, so about 10 years. She was making $8 an hour, and I'm not going to tell you how much she makes now, but it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. So she accepted the coaching, and it's part of that. People don't really understand everything that goes on behind the scenes of a restaurant. And it's an orchestra. In the kitchen is the composer and the whole restaurant's the orchestra. And then, of course, there's other parts of the front of the house that are very important. They're kind of like a composer too, their own composer of their own orchestra, but they struggle to see how we can pull all this off. And I'm just telling you, it's a strong team.
Yeah.
We got a really strong team and everybody knows what they're doing and everybody's good at their job. And that's how we pull it off. I mean, it looks like chaos in a restaurant. It is. But it's organized. Yeah. It's organized chaos. Like I said, you never know when a deer is going to jump through a window.
You're giving a lot of credit to a strong team. But your instincts is really what's driving this success. You talked about early in the conversation about some of these things were on the drawing board for years,
Absolutely.
and you come back to it. How do you keep staying fresh with your ideas?
That's a really difficult question for me to answer, honestly. I can't explain it, but when I have an idea and it gets locked into place, it's stuck in my brain until I do it. Okay. And that's the truth. As wood fire was happening, I had this really grand idea, and it's exactly like I envisioned it. I mean, exactly, with the arcade bar upstairs and all that stuff. It got locked into place and I couldn't unsee it. I slept it. I dreamt about it. I thought about it all day long. It's obsession. If you remember, I said it was borderline obsession. It was obsession. I had to stick to it. I just had to figure out a way to afford to do it. Yeah, I mean, when it didn't always start that way. When we did Sammy, some of it was dumb luck.
Yeah.
We got a little luck. We were faking it until we made it. We tried to make Sammy's look like a chain, and 15 years ago, chains were cool. Now they're not, necessarily cool.
Mm-hmm.
But 15 years ago, that in the small towns, that's all the town really knew. So we wanted to look like one so they would trust us. So we didn't have a reputation for restaurants or any of that stuff. We had my mom's face from Long John's, who everybody knew as the nice Long John lady. So that was going for us. But the rest, we faked it until we made it. Mm. And then the grind was what happens when we take a bar and grill concept and just push it to the max. It's dump gas on fire. What happens when we do that? And that's what happened. And it's been wild. And so I tried with wood fire to try to do a little bit of both of those things, but not totally. It was somewhere in the middle. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Were there a lot of haters?
I feel like I get some hate. There's been some small town rivalry type stuff. I had some issues when we were building out wood fire. I'm not gonna say any names. Had some issues when we were building out wood fire, and I felt like I was being trolled online a little bit because it was taking so long. And no one really understood how I was dealing with my father passing and how important that was to me and how difficult that was. And, they don't know the full story and stuff like that. So I had to hold my tongue some on that. And I did the right thing. That's the way it should have been. Mm-hmm. But I really wanted to fight back. I really did, because I was in a dark place for a short while. For a little while, it was really tough. And I was like, it was like being kicked when you're down type thing. So, yeah, there's haters. There's always going to be haters. We have haters that are, ex-employees as well. They don't like that we are, I think Joe said this about we're kind of tyrants about our business. It has to be done this way. And it's the right way. Yeah. Whether people say it is or not, it's the right way. Yeah. You have to do it. You have to smile when you're at our restaurants. You have to. If you can't smile, you're going to go to your front of the house job just turn into a kitchen job. And that usually will either get people smiling or they'll go work in the kitchen and quit. And that's just the way it is. It's hospitality. And this isn't McDonald's, frankly. And there's millions of dollars at stake. It's a big ordeal. So you've got to do it a certain way. And some people, they can't accept coaching. They don't want to get better. They think they're doing it the right way every single time. And so, yeah, we get haters from that a lot too. Mm-hmm. It happens.
Mm-hmm. How important is the process?
It's extremely important. It's extremely important. The process of making your food is number one. When it comes to processes, because there's a certain thing called food evolution, and it can simply be this. You teach a guy or gal how to make a pizza, and they decide that it's easier one day to put the cheese this way, and then they show the next guy and gal, and then it turns into a game of password, and then pretty soon you don't have the same product. After it being a matter of months, you don't have the same product. You can go up there and be like, taste your food, and you go up there and you taste it, and like, something's weird's happening here. What has happened? And turns into a full-blown investigation. Like, what are we doing? What changed? Blah, blah, blah. And then we get to the recipe book, and someone decided to change a half cup to a fourth of a cup, somewhere in there. And that can happen. We advise all of our managers, or we don't advise, they have to go back and taste the food. They have to go around every morning and taste the sauce. They taste the cheese at the cheese fondue at the grind. They taste the ranch every day. They taste all kinds of stuff. We make them taste it. They have to. Standards, exactly. But the process of making the food is also important, because we get a lot of times people be like, well, I decided I was going to put tomatoes on this part of the sandwich this way because it's faster. But what they don't know is that we put them in a very specific spot for a certain flavor profile that when you eat, okay? Because when you put the tomatoes on top, then we come over the top with our spices, and they land on the tomato, and they keep you from having that explosion of water that you can get when you have a tomato. Some tomatoes are full of water. So you get a seasoned tomato if you do it the right way. And then on top of that is the mayonnaise. The mayonnaise is protecting the bread from the water of the tomato. So everything is done for a reason. And that's what we have to teach our guys. Say, hey, it's done the hard way for a reason. And because if they want to do it the fastest way, sure, it helps with time, but it may throw a huge monkey wrench into the whole thing.
It's fascinating. I got caught up in that because I'm thinking about my company and my business, and what you're describing it very much happens in the engineering world as well. Draftsmen feel like that they can do something a little faster or quicker and do things in the computer and move it around, and then in the end, it's like, this is not the product.
It's an inferior product
that we were going for. Faster is not always better.
It's definitely not. It's not always better. But having said that, there are times where an employee or a manager will be like, hey, I discovered this.
Sure.
And that's the way to do it, to show everybody. Like, not the other guys, but like show me or anybody that's part of my immediate teams, like, hey, and then they'll come to me and be like, hey, so-and-so discovered this. We reward that behavior. We reward that stuff. Or they came up with this new sandwich, or they came up with this new pizza or burger or whatever, new milkshake idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. We do encourage that.
Mm-hmm.
But you always got to worry about food evolution.
Yeah. Whenever you first opened Sammy's, whenever you first started your own company, do you remember what it was like watching people for the first time eating your product?
I do, to a degree, but part of it was we were so busy and it was so chaotic that I would look up, because we have this spot called, it's called Expo. Even at Sammy's has an expediter, right? And we were so busy, we required someone that was topping the sandwiches. You just had to tell them what's exactly on that sandwich. No tomatoes on this one, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even have time to look up at tickets, right? So as soon as the thing come up, I'd already know what exactly goes on that sandwich. I'd tell them exactly how to make it. Bing, 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 bing. And they'd do it. We'd get it out. And so we were that busy that I wasn't experiencing that much at the time. But then after it settled down a little bit and I was able to get outside of the kitchen, yes. And people, we've just been so blessed with how people perceived us and perceived our restaurant and just enjoy everything that, we've sold. So I've experienced that in different ways at each restaurant. The grind, I was definitely stuck in the back of the kitchen, which is not in the dining room. You can't see your guests at all. So my dad would come through and I'd come into the kitchen and be like, the guests say it's amazing. Everything's amazing. He would come by and of course, if there was an issue, he'd come by and tell us that too. And so he'd be like, get out of the kitchen, and come in and say hi to guests and stuff. And I would try, but we were swamped. And there wasn't, like I said, it's like a composer. You're firing fried stuff, you're firing burgers, and you're frying Macs and firing. And then you got to bring it all together and serve it. It's a magic trick.
Yeah.
And frankly, at the grind, our whole kitchen is the size of this room.
Yeah.
With milkshakes and everything. It's tiny. The main part of the kitchen is just this part of the room. That would be like if you added the milkshakes on.
Wow.
So it's a tiny place. And when you were doing numbers like that and you got a wall of tickets and you're trying to get everything out by 30 minutes, it was tough. Woodfire was even a different experience. It was like a marriage of the two because we opened that and I was running the oven. And so the oven's right out in the dining room. So it was a bit of a blessing and a curse because the oven is a hard job when you're busy because it's not a conveyor oven. You don't just set a pizza on it. It's skill.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to cook it. You've got to rotate it. We land all of our pizzas by the wood and then work it off to the right side where it's cooler and finish it over there as the pizza has stages. It basically has 3 stages. You landing them by the wood, then it's in the middle, and then it's off to the right side to finish. And so I'm working that as hard as I possibly can, as fast as I possibly can. And people through the community are like, Alan, how's it going? I'm like, it's great. I'm just just sweat pouring off me. I'm like, hey, I really want to chat with you, but I also can't, and that was tough. But all 3 of them had a very unique experience and it was very amazing to have, I was able to get out of Woodfire faster than the other places, mostly just because of experience.
It's got to be rewarding though to look back or just to go in and see people enjoying the atmosphere, enjoying the food, enjoying everything that you've designed.
It's incredible. I get so many comments everywhere I go recently all about Woodfire. We love it. We love that place. It's beautiful. I can't believe it's in Martin. It's incredible what you've done. I mean, it is very rewarding. It is very rewarding. And I have a little bit of imposter syndrome. I have imposter syndrome. And so sometimes when I'm feeling and hearing all this stuff, I'm like, how did I get here? And it's crazy to think that because I'm telling the story everywhere I go on the walls at our restaurants of how I got there. But they're saying it all the time. I have imposter syndrome. How did I get to this moment where I go to Walmart and everybody starts talking about Woodfire, and it's been a year and a half since we opened. So it's been open for a while. They're still talking about it, still loving it. So it's incredible. It's incredibly rewarding.
What do people misunderstand about you then? You by bringing that up about the imposter syndrome, I would think that people would think that you are self-absorbed maybe because you're kicking butt, quite frankly.
I think some people feel that way, and then they get to know me and they realize that I'm very humble and very appreciative and stuff. But yeah, I think one misconception that people don't realize is that, and I wear it like a badge of honor, maybe almost to a fault, is that me and my family came from nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody in my family graduated college. Nobody in my family had money. We weren't handed some big check and opened something. We built everything, and we are very proud of that. And like I said, it may be to a fault a little bit, but we've worked very hard. I mean, part of the reason why the grind is called the grind is because of all the grinding my parents did to get there. They deserve a tremendous amount of credit to put me in a situation to thrive.
Yeah.
So, and they worked their butts off, frankly. 60-hour weeks all the time, like we talked about earlier, where Dad's missing all my games and all that stuff because he was working because they had to. We didn't drive the nice cars. I got made fun of for wearing bad clothes when I was in school. My dad grew up that way. He always used to joke. He's like, when I was a kid, we were so poor that for Christmas, Santa Claus bought me a $2 poster, and that's all I got. He's talking about it all the time.
They give you a picture of a gift.
Yes. And my mom had some, very traumatic moments in her childhood and it's a blessing that she turned out so wonderful that she is, and such a great mother and business partner. But I think a lot of people think that we just threw money at the wall as hard as we could and made something. And in reality, every single thing that we've built is from our hearts. It's from my heart, my family's heart. And like I said, very proud of that. But I don't think people totally know that. I think some people do, though. There are some people that have gotten to know the full story and realize that we didn't come from money.
Yeah. People see success and they don't put the hard work into their framework of the success. They just see the person as they are in front of them, I think, a lot of times. And really, it does take away from the story of who you are, because that hard work, and your father working at the Pizza Hut in Paducah and your mom working at a restaurant, you as a latchkey kid running around your skateboard, you're a product of Martin, Tennessee, and a proud product.
Absolutely. I'm very proud I love my town. I don't ever want to move. I love everything about it. I love what I've contributed. I love what other people have contributed. I love UTM, even though I didn't go to college there. I love my town. I love the peace of mind. I lived in Memphis for a short while. I did go to college for a short while. I like to say I checked the some college box. People are like, "Do you go to college?" Some college.
Yeah, that's a good.
So I went there for a short while, and I realized it wasn't for me. I did live in Memphis and work at a few restaurants there while I was there, but I ultimately realized that, I was getting mixed up with some of the wrong stuff, and I wanted to get out of there. My dad said, "Hey, why don't you come back?"
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. I like to tell this basically on what you were just asking is literally 25 years ago, me and my dad were working at Domino's Pizza in Martin, Tennessee together, delivering pizza.
That's amazing.
Yeah. 25 years ago, we were working he was an opening driver and I was a closing driver. And you actually used to be able to make really good money delivering pizza back in the day.
Yeah.
But him and I did that together. And people are usually shocked when I tell them that, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Worked at Domino's in Martin.
What does success look like?
I think success is whatever you want it to be. And it can be giant stacks of money. It can be owning your own business, creating your own job. It can be creating something that other people can enjoy. It can be a painting. It can be just a hobby that you love because you work a job and it allows you to have this hobby. I think success is whatever you want it to be, but that you need to define what success is to you before you can be successful. You need to define it. And if you can get there, which you can, anyone can be successful. The American dream is still alive, but it's just how big is the dream?
How big is it for you?
It's big. I don't know if it's that big, but I'm joking because I always say that if I ever got to a certain point, I'd just disappear. Just a little humor there, but it's big. I want to do more. I see a lot of opportunities. It's fun. I'm very blessed that I'm in the situation where I can say opening another business is fun. It is still very incredibly stressful, but I see lots of local opportunities still. I see opportunities in surrounding counties. I see opportunities to grow Sammy's into something major, big. And that's what we're kind of trying to do at the current time is naturally grow the brand so that local surrounding towns know what it is. I've got Paris on a list, I can tell you that. But, I learned from other places that have done that. Five Guys is a huge company. They had 3 restaurants in 15 years. And they had that 15 years for 3 restaurants. And then they exploded into a bigger, much larger thing. And you could say the same thing with Jimmy John's. I don't necessarily see us getting to that level by any means. I'm just using that as an example.
Are you saying that out of humility, or do you believe that you can't be that big?
I believe I can do it. I think by the time that I get there, I may be out of steam. Because I do get the burnout thing where it's like after I built Woodfire, I wanted to go. It was rewarding and amazing, but it was just like such a high that I just came down, and it's like my brain finally did. I told you it locked it in.
Yeah.
It finally released it all. I did it, and I just wanted to chill. I wanted to, and you can't chill. You have to keep working. And so, that's the other part of it. So you can pull it off. You did what you said you were going to do. And now you got to like relax a little bit. So I don't know if I can get there to push it that far. And maybe somebody in my company can help out, or maybe my son will get there one day and he'll be able to pick up the reins, but I'm not going to pressure him. I'm going to let him do whatever he wants to do as long as it's productive.
Yeah.
As long as it's not, something bad.
You mentioned your son just now, and you talked about your dad missing things. Are you able to be right there with your son?
Yes, he did start kid college today, so I did miss that.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's good. It's just that I did kid college when I was a kid. But it was funny. I was in the parking lot and I got the text with the picture of him standing in the thing. But no, I'm going to see my kid stuff. Part of what reason why I do things the way I do it is to have some freedom. That goes along with the philosophy of how we run our restaurants as well. I'm creating businesses. I'm not creating a job. If that makes sense.
Yes.
That's what I want to do. And no offense to anybody that's done it the other way, because that's completely awesome and great for some people. That's not what I want to do. And so I believe that you have to trust other people in order to grow. So a lot of the stuff that I've been preaching, and I haven't even said, is that we put faith in other people. And that's why I bring up the team, because we put a lot of faith in the team, and that allows me to be able to not miss, hopefully, my son's future soccer games. He's still really young.
Yeah.
But I don't plan on missing very many of them.
Yeah. What is your leadership philosophy for your group? How is it that you mentioned trust and some other things? What is the philosophy of Alan?
I always say, one thing that I say a lot is stern but fair. And I use that in a sense that I am a no BS guy. And I'm not going to sugarcoat everything. If you're on the team, I can be your best friend and your worst nightmare. I really can. And that goes back to the word tyrant. Sounds awful, but that's true when it comes to your business, because you need to run your business however you need to run your business, right? And that's what I believe. And so when people get off of the things that, you're trying to do, your ultimate goal, you have to be stern about it and be passionate about it. And I think that's important for the people to see that. And because when I say stern but fair, I don't mean being a jerk.
Sure.
Right? I don't mean being a jerk. I mean, you convey the message that how important this is by being stern. This is very important. It's not a joke. It's not a game. This is real money. These are real people's jobs. This is huge, can be huge or small, whatever. But I'm just saying, my philosophy is stern but fair in the sense that, like I said, I give people the freedom. Sometimes I have to reel them back in, though. I give people freedom. Let me see how creative you can be. Let me see what you can do. When we hire artists to do things, I'm like, go all out, be an artist, But when they start doing stuff, I'm like, whoa, we can't do that. You got to reel them back in a little bit. But that's ebb and flow a little bit. Like I said, let people be free, and and let them run the restaurant the way that they want to run the restaurant, as long as they follow the rules of the game.
Word.
Okay. So we make the rules of the game. We're the game rule makers. And as long as you follow the rules, you can have some fun. And you can, as long as the rules are being followed, as long as the job is getting done correctly. So that allows us to have different types of managers. Not everybody's a robot. They run their stores, and we let them run their stores. I have people come up, if I run into Woodfire, for example, and they'll be like, Alan, something, blah, blah, blah. I need to know something about, why is this certain way or whatever. I'm like, you need to go find the manager. and talk to the manager because that's their shift,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're running the shift. I don't want to step on their toes. Now, if certain things, I'm going to immediately get involved. If it's a food quality issue, if it's flavor or something, I'm immediately get involved, but I'm also going to go get the manager. Let's all be involved in this.
If somebody were to ask me now, tell me if you think Alan Laderman can do X, Y, or Z, my answer is going to be get out of his way because he certainly can do it.
Well, thank you. I hope that's a compliment. I think it is.
It is a compliment. A man is proud of his upbringing, like you are, come from a place where hard work was just a way of life, and being able to envision something, get out of this man's way because he is going to accomplish it. That's what I would say about Alan Laderman.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming today and spending time here, even though your son was at had kid college and everything this morning. Man, it's been enlightening. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for hearing my story. Thanks for asking me. It's been a pleasure. You guys have been very hospitable for me here, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I was, just so you know, I was dreading this a little bit, but after it's all said and done, I'm very thankful to be a part of it.
I'm glad you were. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.